Okay. Yes. Snow Walker here. Today I'm going to talk about the fourth video of 5 videos it's going to be of building arrows. And today I'm going to talk about how to tune your arrow to your bow. So arrows are tuned specifically to the bows which you're shooting. You can't just take another person's arrows and shoot them out of your bow and expect them to work good. It won't happen. They'll wobble through the air. So a wobbling arrow is no good. It takes up energy and it's not accurate. So before you put your fletchings on the arrows, you need to tune them to your bow. And the way you do that is you take the arrow, one of the arrows, and you shoot it into a target with no fletchings about 15 feet away, something like that, 10-15 feet away from the target. And you look at the arrow when it's in the target. If the arrow has the nock to the left, that means that arrow is spined too light. If the nock is to the right, that means the arrow is spined too stiff. My arrows are spined too light. These are 50 to 55 pound spine weight. I ordered them, and that's what I ordered them at. And their bending ability, which is the spine weight, the stiffness of the arrow is too weak. So I had to shorten. So as you can see, I had to shorten quite a bit. This arrow is a finished arrow, meaning it doesn't have the fletchings on, but it's tuned to my bow. The other arrow is the length which I started with. All the arrows were cut the same length. So I cut it down in increments until, about 1 inch at a time, and I'd have to re-knock it each time and re-glue it, and I'd shoot it a bunch more times, and it would slowly straighten out, slowly straighten out, slowly straighten out until I got to where it was perfect. This arrow, when I shoot it in the target, is perfectly straight. This arrow, it's still, the nock kicks to the left. Now, if your arrows, and that's kind of what you want when you build arrows. You want them to be a lighter spine weight than stiffer, because stiffer is a little harder to remedy. The stiffer spine weights, if your nock is going to the right, you got a bit of a problem. The main thing that you can do there, and almost the only thing you can do there, is that you can put a heavier weight or a heavier point on the front of your arrow. And what that does, when you pull back your string and you release it, what that does is it makes the arrow, there's more weight there that makes it want to bend more. And it gets that archer's paradox going on, is what it's called. Because the arrows actually bend around the bow. I'd have to kind of explain that, but just FYI. The arrow's off to the side a little bit. This is not a true center cut. It has a little bit of a shelf, but it's not a true center cut where the arrow sits directly in the middle of the bow. So the arrow sits off a little bit. It's I'm exaggerating it now, but it's off. That's what it is basically. Not so much. So when you draw back and you release the arrow, what it is doing is actually bending the arrow, and as the string is further away and you release it and it comes closer and closer and closer, the arrow wants to bend this way. It wants to bend like that. So it looks like it's actually bending around the bow, and that's known as archer's paradox. And if you have too light of a spine, it'll bend too much, and your nock will go to the left. If it's too stiff, your nock will go to the right. Like I say, and mine were too light of a spine. So that's what I did. It worked it smaller and smaller, and until I got this length right here. So That's the correct length for this arrow, and I have to do this for every arrow. But I have a good starting point now. You know, I don't have to start clear up here. I can start a lot closer now because I know these arrows are not exactly the same spine weight because they're natural. These are wooden arrows, and their grain's a little different in each one. And because of that differing grain, they're going to release a little bit different and have a little different. Some might be stiffer in the front, some might be stiffer in the back, stiffer in the middle. It just depends. But the spine weights are within 5 pounds of each other, so I can start probably right about here and work into it, just 1/4 inch increments. This arrow, when I'm done, it might be a hair shorter, it might be a hair longer, you know, a little bit, and that doesn't really matter to me. If these were carbon fiber arrows or aluminum arrows, once you get the correct length for your bow, then you're good. You cut them all the same. But like I say, because these are naturally made from a tree, you know, no two arrows have the same exact grain or weight, so they're going to be a little bit different. So you need to really spine each one individually. If you don't, some people take shortcuts and just cut them all the same length, and you get arrows that don't fly so good. And some just aren't going to spine that good. You know, some are better than others for whatever reason. I don't know why. Some arrows, boy, they shoot just perfect. This arrow shoots really straight, and I'm going to demonstrate that. I got a target over here. I'm going to shoot this arrow that is properly tuned to my bow, and it just goes perfectly straight. This arrow I'm going to shoot then afterwards, and you're going to see it's going to be crooked into the target. And then the next step, like I say, is putting on fletchings. You just need tiny fletchings on this though. Tiny fletchings. You know, fletchings are like a parachute. They really slow the arrow down. So if you got an arrow that's just going straight through the air, you know, perfectly straight, it's not wobbling through the air. Like this one's gonna come out sideways. And if it had fletchings on it, it would correct itself back and forth until eventually it gets straight. This one, I'll release it, and it'll stay straight the whole time. And it'll go further, straighter, faster, hit harder. And you want them to hit, if you're hunting, you want them to hit perfectly straight. You don't want to hit the animal crooked, otherwise it won't go as far. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now. It's starting to get dark. This is my 4th attempt to make this video. My phone keeps crapping out on me. So. Okay, I just shot the 2 arrows. I hope it's not too dark to see this. Oh, I think it's okay. All right. That's the small arrow right there. This one right here. Notice it's straight. The other arrow is kicked off to the left. I wish I could get an aerial of it. I don't know if that showed it very well or not, but that's what happened. So there you got it. And see, I was standing back a little bit further, but you can't even see the one arrow because it's perfectly straight, but the one that's kicked to the left, you can see it. And one more thing. I cant my bow when I shoot. So yeah, I cant my bow when I shoot. So if I'm canting my bow like this, the arrow then will be, if it's off, you know, too light of a spine weight, the arrow will be, say this is my bow, and this is my cant angle that I hold my bow at. Hold my bow like that. this arrow will be stuck in the target. It'll look this way, not like this. This is if you're shooting a bow Olympic style. But I canned it, so it'll be square to the angle that you can't, the bow. That's one thing that I've noticed on YouTube that most people don't understand. They're over there canning the bow and they're shooting, and the arrow's going perfectly to the left. That means they got knocking issues. Their knocking point is too high or too low, and they don't understand it, and then it messes them up. So make sure that if you cant your bow, that your arrow, if it is too stiff or too weak, it needs to be at a 90-degree angle from the cant of your bow. Now, it's easy if it's straight and it's just perfectly horizontal, if your bow is vertical, but I like to cant it. So that's today's little informative tidbit, and the next video will be fletching the arrow, and then the arrows will be done. So till then, this is Snow Walker signing off.